Okay. The audience can hear me now,
Hello, yeah?
and
Hello.
they can hear you now. Amazing.
Woohoo!
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So um,
He's the
that's pretty
champion.
funny. So 1 second. I'm just gonna go back to the live scene. And okay. Okay. Lovely. Okay. Thanks, guys. So we are back on, and we just had basically 15 minutes of me miming, and I did some tests before going on, and I thought that I could hear because there's a way of measuring on the software that I'm using. Um, the there's a way of measuring the sound and the audio and the that everything is working, and it seemed to be working. So and then I guess when I went live, something changed in the back end. So every week is a new experience for me. So apologies to our viewers. You missed out on the beginning, so I'll probably cut this. I don't know if I can change a live show at the end, but just to start
Yes,
all over again.
I'll tell you
Um,
how.
welcome to JagaVision episode 7. We have our guests on already with us today. Um, we are essentially going to be drinking an Shi Yu Lu. Before we started, what you saw me miming was a 1976 pu'er that tastes fantastic. Um, it's a show pu'er. Today we're going to be brewing an Shi Yu Lu, and our guests are going to be are already here. Dave Upshaw, if you want to say hello,
Hello.
and Sherri Anne from Sister Speak.
Hello, bonjour.
And Dave is with Canoe Coffee Roasters. He's the owner there, and he was just telling us a little bit about his story. So maybe this is a good moment to just go back in time here and start from the beginning, if you don't mind, Dave.
Yeah,
And
sure.
maybe we can.
I'll just because of timing, I'll just make sure I'll make it a little quicker.
Sure.
So basically, I started Canoe 5 years ago out of a garage in the back of my house, and I started home roasting, selling to people at the farmers market. We turned a 1956 camper trailer into a mobile cafe. Um, just kind of grew up from there. 2 years at the farmers market, and then we opened up our shop here in Kelowna, in the industrial zone, kind of surrounded by metal shops and vintage stores and construction sites. But it's a great spot. We have tons of business here, and we basically bring in the best coffee that we can find and roast it to bring out kind of the bright, crisp, fruity notes. And
I love your
yeah,
coffee, by the way. I've always had a good experience with it, and there was a story that just what blew my mind is I think we were talking about it just about the trials and tribulations of owning your own business and just the
yeah,
kind of the stuff that we go through to make things work. And you pushed your entire coffee bar to
yes,
an event and back, like on
yeah. So
wheels.
we made a mobile one. I pushed it probably like 10 blocks down to
Wow.
Laurel Packing House. It's a vintage building here in town.
Amazing.
For And so I had my two group Lemarzocco on top of it, and a buddy of mine, me and him just pushed it all the way there. It was good times.
So awesome.
You gotta
So
do what you gotta
awesome. You
do.
got to do what you got to do. Indeed. Yeah, 100%. And
That's
it's great that that you've made it work, man. I love your new space. I found
Thanks.
your old space also really really rustic and exciting, but this one is like next level, hey? And
Yeah. So I'm currently sitting inside of a new space.
newer, even newer. Is it near the
Uh,
one that you?
it's connected to it.
Okay. All right.
Do you remember? I guess I could just say this live on this thing, but do you remember the building behind our cafe?
Yes.
There's our cafe, then there's the courtyard, then there's the big loft building behind.
Yes.
That's now ours as well.
Oh wow, really? That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. That's
So
huge.
we'll be sharing some details about that in the coming weeks. But
Cool.
sitting in my new office over there, and we're expanding with a new kitchen, and we're basically tripling our capacity. So
Wow.
Wow.
That's
yeah, lots of cool
amazing.
things
That is
there.
so cool, man.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
So and
That'll
in,
be
It's a
some.
weird time to expand with no one working, but
in the middle of a
Gotta
pandemic.
take-
Hey, well, you got to do what you got to do, and
Well, hey, now you have more distance, right? You have more room
Yes.
for social distancing.
So yeah,
seating.
because with new rules, if we're gonna have to lower the amount of people in, we now have more space, so we can probably still let in a decent amount of people. So
nice.
Mhm.
And you have all that space
Yeah.
in between buildings too, where you can have people socially
The big
distancing
courtyard.
and outside, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I
for sure.
what yeah, and again, I don't just what. Before I ask a little bit more questions here, I wanted to bring Sherri Anne in on the conversation a bit. I don't think you guys have met, but Sherri Anne, you want to tell Dave a little bit about what you do with your music project?
Yeah. So I generally tour a lot, and with this, with this all happening, I've been doing weekly live streams instead. So that's
Nice.
fun. Yeah, and the band is called Sister Speak. It's anything from solo to 5-piece.
Awesome.
And yeah, and then I drink a lot of tea, and I love tea. So I every time I do my live stream, I drink tea on the live stream.
Okay.
Jaga soak tea specifically.
we've been sponsoring her tours for the last something like 6 years. She goes all around the world, sometimes 200 shows a year, and
Nice.
she brings it on. And not everybody can say that they are living that kind of dream. So it's pretty cool to have that conversation and give her tea, and we also sometimes play together. Sherri Anne's my sister, so there's a little bit of nepotism I like to point out there, but it's it works out. It's good times. We like to promote each other as well, and what she brings to the show is kind of a perspective on if you were not in the industry and you're making tea, what would that look like? So it's fun to have her on for sure.
Yeah. Well, we should have you here. We're a little bit of a music venue here as well, so
Cool.
a cool spot
Cool.
for sure. We've got a huge courtyard out back, and we can talk about that later.
Well, that's awesome. Well, yeah, I'm in BC for a while.
Nice.
Well, maybe when this all settles down, hey? Now, just wondering what you're doing around COVID-19 before we start to drink some tea. And maybe while we're talking about what you're doing, we can all just kind of get our water ready at 80 degrees. But I wanted to maybe to tell our viewers what kind of steps you've had to take to interact with this crisis.
Totally. So I think it was March 23rd when everyone kind of started to shut down. So that's we just followed suit with that. The first thing we did was we closed the cafe for inside service.
Okay.
And then we have a really convenient side window on the side of our building. So you
Okay.
can just walk that building or up to that window. There's two windows. You can order at one window and you can pick up at the other, and they're like 6 feet apart.
I think I remember this
So that
window.
worked well at the beginning. I'm not sure if you saw the videos that we posted. We did some funny videos kind of explaining how to do that. We did that for about a week, and then our staff started to get a little uncomfortable with it, and the customers were just kind of the way everything was going. Everyone was shutting down, and we just didn't feel comfortable being open at all anymore.
Right.
So we shut the doors. I think it was March 23rd that we shut. And we immediately started we boosted our online sales, and we did free delivery Canada-wide
Oh wow.
and free shipping around Kelowna as well. So we didn't restrict the amounts that people could order. We just made it free across the board.
Wow.
And that boosted our sales online like crazy. So we went from having maybe like 10 orders a week on our store to like 300 a week.
Oh wow. That's
which
amazing.
was awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Very
It was
cool.
a lot
Yeah,
to take because we weren't used to that type of ordering. So
right.
it was a challenge. We had to make system for that. We had to make sure we had proper shipping things and everything, and it was a challenge for sure. But I think it's really opened our minds to that side of the business that we've never really done before.
Okay.
So, and we made jokes that we were throwing coffee at people's doors, and they loved that. And
I think I remember a post like that. It's like
yeah, for sure.
contactless tossed coffee.
Exactly. I'm hoping that some
Throwing the
people
coffee at their doors.
Yeah, we let them throw it at their doors, but I only did it to people I knew, and then people would come to their door when they saw us drive up. They're like, "Throw it!" So we throw it at their door.
Nice.
There's a lot of fun for sure. So that's been consistent since March all the way till now, people are ordering their coffee every week.
Nice.
And obviously, we want to open up the cafe really soon, which we will be for the window service again. But we've learned some lessons for sure.
Yeah, just well, because Health Authority, they wanted us all to move to takeout, all of us in food service. They weren't really demanding us close. It was an interesting dynamic to sort of navigate there, because there was a lot of social pressure to close, and it is perhaps the scientifically correct thing to do. Yet at the same time, I was always kind of questioning it, just because I was like, okay, I know we all need to close, but there are people that actually can't make themselves food at home, that actually can't, you know, like there seemed to be a reason why cafes and restaurants, that sort of takeout service was considered essential. I think maybe people are coming around to understanding that a little bit more, and I think that people are a little bit warmer to the idea of cafes opening now, even though we're still combating this virus and we still need to maintain a very disciplined approach to it.
For sure. Yeah, I think people expect us to show them what we're doing, to make sure that we're protecting them, protecting ourselves. And whether you think this virus is a serious thing or not, I think we all have to take it seriously.
100%.
So.
Yeah. Even Absolutely. If you just because of all the, it's kind of like the silent killer. It can quietly, I kind of think like, who knows? I might have it right now and not even know it, and I could give it to everybody. So I just got to act that way and just be extra careful.
Be respectful. Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure.
So
yeah. So we also, in that we did our best to teach people how to make coffee at home as well. So we made we made about 3 or 4 homebrew videos to how to make a V60, how to make Chemexes, and
nice.
That's also moving forward into our new space. We're going to be doing homebrew classes there's a kitchen space here. So those things there, and so this has been maybe a good thing for us, because it's helped us learn how to expand our business into what we feel the people want.
100%. Yeah, I've always wanted to do a live stream, as an example. I've always wanted to build this more educational content side, and like
podcasts, podcasts all day long. It's a cool thing to do, right?
I think there's a, and everybody and their uncle is doing it right now, right? So it's okay. It's a great time to learn and have 20 minutes of silence at the beginning of your live stream, and I think when I was silent and didn't know it, I was saying, I think we figured stuff out, but we're still learning, so forgive me if we've done anything wrong. Oh my god. But there we are. It's been really good for us too. It's painful because a lot of what we do is wholesale, and a lot of our wholesale customers, most of them have closed. Some of them permanently, which is really frightening, and some of them permanently, and it's just because it was day by day. They just put in so much investment, and they were just about to turn that corner, but they were still struggling, and then it was like the nail in the coffin, and and I pardon the symbology there. That's not my intent, but it was some hard times, for sure, for many. But if you can step back and you're able to just take this as, some people call it the great pause. I love that way of looking at it. It's a moment to just reflect and go macro and just kind of look at what's going on and
I've spent so much time with my kids, which is I'll cherish this forever. Like I've seen my kids every single day for most of the day, which is at their age is just so special. So I feel really lucky that I could do that. So we spending time at home for me too. It's been pretty special. And it is a very connecting opportunity there with my wife, we don't have children, but with our cats, and it's it's lovely. Okay. And I'm drinking a lot more tea.
Lovely. So let's get to it. So Sherri Anne, what are you brewing with today? What's your
Oh yeah, I'm on the same page as you guys, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Thoughts.
It's the same, similar situation where I'm grateful to have time to learn this actually. I'm wanting to learn new domestic skills because I've been traveling so much. So I want to learn more about gardening and how to make tea properly, things that you don't learn when you're a touring musician all the time.
Yeah, my brother's a musician as well, and he had to cancel his entire tour this year. And
same.
Launch, and he had to nix everything. So
wow, it's the same thing. I just have a new album that came out, and but it's a live album of all things.
I'll go check it out.
I'll send you on Instagram. I'll send you the link.
Sisterspeakmusic.com. And for our viewers, Canoe coffeeroasters.com, sisterspeakmusic.com, or where you can check out the websites of our two guests today. And you can also go to jagasilk.com and find the tea that we're going to be making. This is a Shi Yu Lu that we're going to be brewing up.
Oh, I gotta get my brewing device. Sorry.
I just want to mention one more thing. I'm not sure if anybody that's listening knows about this, but we're changing our name.
Okay. Yeah.
In a couple of weeks. So I'm not going to say what it is here on this because we haven't announced it yet. But if you do Google us, you might not find us in a couple of weeks if you Google Canoe. I'm sure it's going to, all of the SEO stuff will probably still link to us. But best just to follow us on Instagram, and we'll change that over as soon as that all happens. So
awesome. And when that changeover happens, I'll also go back to the archive video and change the description to your new website so that people can link to it. Unfortunately, in the live version, everybody watching, even the archive video, it will still have Canoe Coffee Roasters as the name. But if you go to the description, you'll see the new name once it's been announced. And the official reveal is...
Sorry?
When is the official reveal?
On the 29th.
The 29th. Awesome.
Yeah,
all right.
really
So,
here.
and you know, I think it's you're gonna come up with, or I'm sure you have come up with something pretty awesome. So
I've already sent it to you. So.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like pretend like I don't know, but I won't say anything. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I'm really excited for you, man. I think it's gonna be some fun times.
Absolutely.
Well, we can keep talking, but I just want to brew while we're doing so, so that we don't run out of time.
Is this okay? I have this jar and I have this thing too.
Would it? You need a sieve as well. So you need
I do have a sieve.
something to filter it with.
I have
Ideally,
this.
you're gonna also preheat your brewer. That's gonna work just fine. And you have a scale. Do you have the temperature variable kettle today, or are you working without?
I'm working without.
Okay, so today then what you're going to do is you're going to put the boiling water, make sure it's fresh boiled, into the teapot, the brewer that you're going to brew in. Maybe it's going to be the jar you're going to brew in. And then you're going to put 180 grams, so put it on a scale. And then you're going to transfer that into your decanter, and that's going to cool it to the correct temperature of 80 degrees. So 2 vessel transfers brings 100 degree boiling water down to 80. You're at a higher elevation, so if you move a little bit quicker so you don't give it as much time to cool, your starting temperature at boiling is more around 95, 96. So you want to move quicker with your transfers, if that makes sense.
Maybe I'll weigh the tea on this then, this little thing.
Sure, yeah. Totally. Separately is a great idea.
How many grams again?
You're going to do 3 grams. And if you can see, our viewers can see this, and you guys can see that. These are the leaves. What do you get much of a dry aroma off of them?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of smells sweet, hey? Or a little grassy, but...
Grassy. Yeah.
Smells like canned peaches to me.
Canned peaches. Okay, I'm into that. I'm into
yum.
It's in the stone fruit. I love it.
Yeah, no, this is the predecessor of gyokuro. So Japanese greens is kind of where JagaSilk has focused a lot of, where we focused a lot of our time. And gyokuro is considered the best of the best when it comes to loose tea in Japan. And then this style of making tea originated in China thousands of years ago. And this Shi Yu Lu is one of the last steamed greens that you can get out of China. Most of the time when they're to keep it a green tea, you want to kill the PPO enzyme or propyl oxidase before it has time to brown the leaves at all. So within 23 hours, you want to be doing that. And a lot of green tea in China is made by parching the leaves. So that's kind of, imagine like a pan firing in like a giant wok kind of system traditionally. If you're going like old school style, it's generally embedded in counters and electric heat these days. But this has been steamed, so it's really a lot more closer to a Japanese green tea, even though it's from China. So it's kind of interesting.
Cool.
From the
3 to 4 minutes?
You're going to be doing a 2-minute brew.
Oh, 2 minutes.
Yeah. So set your timer before you drop the water on top, ideally. And then press go the moment that the water hits. So we're going to do 2 minutes on 3
How many
grams,
milliliters of water is it?
180.
Oh.
And I'm brewing in a kyusu, a Japanese teapot, and I'm going to be decanting into a glass decanter. Highly recommend using glass or ceramic whenever possible. It makes a big difference. What are you brewing with there, Dave?
I'm brewing in the jars that you got for us. So
Lovely, the mason jar brewer.
Jar with this nice sleeve on it and the metal sieve on it. They work great. We used to use the little teapots that you gave us as well. Those were awesome as well. But we found that we kept breaking them in the dishwasher, not in the dishwasher, but when we bring them into the back, when there's so many other glasses going in and out, they would just break.
You know, we had a guest on last week who said the exact same thing. So I'm sure we've left with our viewers this idea that those...
They're lovely. I really like those, and they're awesome for home. But in a cafe environment, like these are so better.
Yeah, it is. Now the decanters seem to have held up for a lot of people, though. Are your decanters still alive?
Oh yeah, we've still got the decanters.
Okay, amazing. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's
I have a barista temperature variable kettle.
Cool. Okay. Did you say barista, not Bonavita?
No, it's the barista one.
Huh. Okay. Cool. It looked kind of rainbow colored. Maybe that's just the.
No,
cool.
it's rainbow.
Very, very, very cool. Okay. That's awesome.
It's a great kettle. It has like a fast boil thing, so you can click it on and it boils water really, really fast.
Nice. Okay. I've actually never seen it. I've been brewing in the Fellows, the Fellows, which are got that analog dial that I really like, and
they're great.
Yeah, it seems to work. You've finished your brew. You're way ahead of Sherri Anne and I. What are you smelling in the cup there or in the decanter? You picking up similar notes that you got in the dry aroma?
It's a little bit different. It's more like maybe a little bit of nuts, like kind of like a wet cashew or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Weird.
Yeah.
Like a warm. What's that nut?
Like a chestnut. That's what
chestnut.
We often say. It's actually, if you look at the tin, the tasting notes actually say chestnut, because we're picking up.
But not the raw ones. Like when you
cooked.
steam.
Like when it's like in the oven, right? And you bake them, and you get the, or when you.
Or microwave them.
Hopefully not microwave them.
It works.
Does it? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm so anti-microwave, and I don't have a good reason for it. It's just like.
I'm a huge microwave guy.
Are you? Okay. I'm just like, oh man, microwaves. Well, growing up, my father used microwaves for two reasons: a bread box, and you're gonna hate this, to reheat his coffee. And that was the only reason he used it.
That's the age. I grew up on Folgers, right? So.
Right. Yeah. Actually, the coffee that I give him, I said to him, don't drink the Folgers stuff anymore. Take all my old coffee that's past like 6 months that I'm not going to drink. And I just grind it in a bulk grinder, and I make a mix pack for him of all these specialty coffee roasters coffee. And he loves it. He's like, this is the best coffee. I'm sure it is, right? That's
awesome.
Comparatively, I mean, he loves a good cup of coffee too, but it's just, it's funny.
Nice.
What are you tasting here, Sher?
Well, I have to be honest. I accidentally made the other green tea.
Oh, okay. So did you grab the Shi Yu Lu? Are you making
I did. I mixed them up because the package looks very similar, and I was like, very confused.
You were like, what? 2 minutes? What? 180 mils? What's going on?
Yeah, I was trying to.
That's why you're like 4 minutes. What? 2 minutes? This doesn't make sense.
But I think that could happen easily because they look very similar on the package,
Right. Well, because they're both Japanese greens, right? And this style is really similar. So even the photos are going to look similar. Yeah, and they both say like seasonal green tea, and so you're a little bit behind. Are you?
Yeah, I'm doing. I'm at 1 minute brewing.
What do you smell?
So
doesn't it smell good? Yeah, I'd
love. Oh my gosh, it smells so much sweeter. It smells very sweet, and it smells very friendly.
Oh, awesome.
Friendly.
Fruity.
Speak again. You cut out just as you said that on my audio. What did you say, Dave? I think you're following up on.
I said I love that she said smells friendly.
Yeah.
I love that.
I had a staff member once who was talking about our green tea chai, and she would smell it, and she's like, I'm like, so how would you describe it to customers? And she's, well, no, actually, I overheard her describing it to a customer where she says it tastes like Christmas. And I thought that was really hilarious. And I'm like, I don't know if that's kind of the language you want to be doing here. You know, like, well, I don't know if people can actually taste that. And then like the next day, a customer comes in when she wasn't there, and she drinks the green tea chai, and she looks at me, and she goes, "Wow, that tastes just like Christmas."
Thanks.
And I was like, "Yeah, that's so like like it would have been impossible to coordinate that." But yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I think that's great.
So
I
then
think
did you put that in the tasting notes?
it needs to be added to the tasting wheel so that we can all access this as part of our shared lexicon.
Totally.
You know,
Yeah.
Christmas friendly. It's awesome. It's good. Yeah. Because that's very real. It's very warming, right? Like there's a really like, I get what you're saying with it too. Like it's just a really gentle, but
Yeah, well, teas and coffees, like they attach themselves to memories, I think, and so something like that smells like Christmas. It just smells you of the feeling of just hanging out in your house with your family and just everything that has to do with Christmas.
totally, yeah.
I totally get that.
There's a definite logical side. I just thought it was the most hilarious thing because here I was kind of, you know, trying to be a little bit more like clinical, and you know, that's not fun.
No.
You know?
Wow. Okay, I'm tasting it finally.
You're tasting it. Okay. Isn't that nice? I
Wow.
I love it.
Did you?
Might be one of my favorites.
Nice. Okay, cool. You got it down to 80. I just love the sugary taste that it has. So when I'm drinking it, I love a good parched green for the flavor that this is giving me. And why that's interesting is because it's not a parched green. It's a steamed green. And so I guess it's the finish firing process once it's steamed and gone through its whole process. There's a very different perspective on how to finish the tea in China than there would be in Japan. And this farmer, his name's Mr. Yang. Not a huge operation. It's in Enshi village. It's in Hubei actually, which is like whoa. But it's a really good delicate flavor.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yes, it's amazing. I think I accidentally steamed it for 2.5 minutes, but it
Okay.
still tastes really good.
Okay, so you're not getting too much tannin or over extraction. It's not drying out your tongue too much.
I mean, like just a tiny bit, but not really.
Okay. Are we ready for the second steep?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it, guys. Okay, so again, for every tea is a little bit different. I like to add 30 seconds to this one for the second infusion. And again, for our viewers, it's good to remember to leave a little bit of room for that leaf absorption. So instead of filling to 180, you should be doing more like 170 grams, just so that you get a nicer second steep. If you have not tared your scale, then you can just fill the 180. That's fine. But if you've tared your scale, then fill the 170-ish.
Same temperature water, Jared?
Same temperature water, 80 degrees C.
So 1, 2.
And when choosing your brewing vessels, Dave has, and this is for our viewers as well, Dave has chosen to go with the mason jar brewer, and Sherri Anne is doing a very similar style, brewing in the jar, pouring through a sieve into the decanter. This totally works. You just want to leave enough room for the leaves to spin with convection currents to properly extract flavor. That's going to make a huge difference in bringing out some really interesting flavors. And if you are in a jam, just understand that 2 cups in a sieve is much better than using a tea bag or even a tea ball or a cylinder of any kind. Like you really want to give the leaves room to properly extract.
Ah.
So you know what I do sometimes though, like if I'm traveling, like the whole tour thing.
Yes.
I end up sometimes just stuffing loose tea leaves into a bottle of cold water and leaving it overnight, and the next day I go on my merry way, and I'm just drinking. And a tea like this that's like a little bit more lightweight in cold extraction, if you just don't if you can actually, it's very common to just drink with the leaves still in the bottle, which, you know, if it's cold water, you're less prone to over extraction, especially in a 24-hour period. And it can taste
Sure,
really good.
tell me if this is sacrilege or not. At home sometimes I brew in my AeroPress with a metal filter.
Okay. You know, I think that's actually really interesting. Like the whole concept of the AeroPress, where we have this vacuum. I think I've almost done it like 15 times, and I just always stop myself at the end, and I'm just because I'm like, how could this not taste like coffee? Even if I cleaned up my AeroPress really well, doesn't it taste like coffee? Like how are you able to get away with it?
Plastic, it doesn't really stick in there. I've had the same AeroPress for 8 years,
Okay.
and it still doesn't smell like coffee to me. And my wife's actually allergic to coffee.
Okay. So
and she uses it as well. So
amazing.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
I find plastic pretty good. At least the plastic that AeroPress uses is it seems to be pretty high quality.
huh.
I find that stainless steel is bad.
Okay.
For
Yeah. Stainless
Yeah.
steel cups really take the
yeah,
flavor.
they really get the flavors in there,
Hmm.
and they kind of stay. Especially like a beer growler or something like that, it never goes away.
Right. No, that
Mhm.
makes sense. I kind of find that what is that Cafiza stuff works pretty good, but it's not
Yeah.
the end all be all. You know, you can still have situations where it's just really, really almost impossible. And I've always to
Yeah.
get the flavor out. And I've always found that when I'm working with an AeroPress, I'm always afraid of, like, I guess I clean with a sponge, and so if I'm gonna wash it and if I accidentally use the hard side of the sponge, it's gonna scratch it. And if I scratch it, then I'm leaving room for aromatic molecules to kind of hang out in the scratches, and it's not going to be
Yeah.
as good of a,
Yeah.
you know. So
But if it did work well, it would be a great travel brewer for tea.
I imagine that it's going to work just fine. And if you can get it so that you're not tasting any coffee through it, amazing. So I'm actually now talking to you. It means I now have to go try this. So
I do that. I use the metal filter, the one the fellow has.
yeah, the Prismo or what have you.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
guy here. You know, we were I gave the AeroPress to Sherri Anne's partner, and she was trying to brew the coffee, and it was just like, yeah, it was impossible to get that. Wasn't that funny? Hey, trying to get the Prismo onto the end of the AeroPress.
Yeah, the other filter.
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah, it like didn't fit. It was weird, really strange.
yeah, no,
Weird.
Yeah, so it was
Yours fits fine.
Oh yeah, it's good. I find it hard to get off,
yeah.
but getting it on is fine.
Yeah, no, it's I get it on and I get like maybe like a millimeter and then I'm okay. But if I try to get off more than that, it's like, yeah, this,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, crazy times.
Maybe they're thinking they can adjust.
That was hilarious. Well, the other filter worked fine though.
Yeah, the metal. Well, you guys have a paper filter, right?
Yeah,
What are we tasting in the second infusion, guys?
more roasted.
Okay. Yeah, this is, you know,
I find it has more body.
yeah, right. And what is so different about this than say a sencha is just like with a sencha, it goes to a place where it gets quite astringent in the second infusion, whereas this one it's like it's a lot cleaner. I don't get a distasteful second infusion. Not that the senchas are distasteful, it's just I always find I need to do a wash and kind of skip to the third infusion. Whereas this, even though it's deceptively made in a similar style, such different brewing parameters. It reminds me of just how important it is to change your brewing parameters for the tea rather than having some sort of homogeneous brewing style. Yeah.
Yeah. It still tastes sweet, which is really nice.
Yeah. No.
I really taste the chestnut. I don't think it's roasted. I actually take that back. I think I taste the chestnut.
Roasted chestnuts.
That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Chestnuts roasted.
Christmas chestnuts.
That's right. Friendly Christmas chestnuts. That's good. And I always love to smell the cup when I'm done. For me, that's just one of the best parts of the whole experience. And for our viewers, when you're drinking tea, it really helps to just like hold a little bit of liquid on your tongue and blow air out your nose. This is going to circulate the aromatics and let it really hang out and do good things for flavor clarity.
Ah.
Awesome. Cool, guys. Just a little... it's been interesting for us to explore Chinese teas. Again, we've been so focused on Japanese teas. We get into cultivars, we get into farms, we get into actually visiting them. And with our Chinese teas, we have always wanted to visit the farms, and we plan to eventually. Obviously, this is not the year for that, but but a big hope to make that happen. I know. Yeah. One time we almost got there, but I was going from Japan to China, and the Chinese embassies in Japan wouldn't allow visitors on short stay visas in Japan to go to China. So if I went back to Canada and then went to China, it would have been okay. But I lost my plane ticket as a result, and we had to call off the trip, and it was really...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it really sucked.
Well, maybe the timing was good because it's been a little bit, I don't know.
This was 2 years ago, so I feel like it would have been... It was before all the cell phone daughter lady. What is this?
Yeah, that whole
Huawei. I can't remember the name of the company, but yeah, like that's before all that started happening. So it was actually a really good time to go.
it would have been.
Yeah, but didn't happen. For the future, but this is made with the Longjing number 47 cultivar, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Dragonwell or Longjing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So Longjing is another one of the 10 famous teas of China, or sometimes called the Imperial teas of China, or the 10 Chinese famous teas is another way of talking about them. And there's just a list of 10 teas, and Shi Yu Lu is one of them, but Longjing is another. And there was actually a cultivar developed in a nursery that they use specifically for Longjing production that's really, really famous now and growing in a lot of different regions in China, called Longjing number 47. And that cultivar was actually planted in Enshi village and used to make this Shi Yu Lu. So this is actually using a cultivar meant for a different famous tea to make this famous tea. So it's kind of an interesting side story for this particular selection.
Jared, there was another Longjing that when you did that cupping with my staff here last year,
Mm-hmm.
there was a Longjing, wasn't there?
Yes, we did a Longjing. It might have been a Chuntizong. I can't remember.
I'm not sure. But I remember tasting it, and it blew my mind. It was one of my favorite teas. It tasted like lychee nuts, I think.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because it would be nice to be lounging while drinking Longjing that has a similarity to lychee.
Mm-hmm.
That was an LLL thing there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like a lot of L's at once that all sounded similar.
Lovely. Okay. Yes. A lychee Longjing while lounging.
A lychee Longjing while lounging. That's amazing.
That's awesome. Okay. This. I think it was the Yun Wu that you had.
Oh, okay.
So it was made with the Longjing number 47 cultivar again, though. So it was
amazing.
The same. Like that particular cultivar is just. Yeah, it seems to know no bounds when it comes to being able to create some. That was also when we did that little test inadvertently of tea in the window versus tea not in the window, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Right?
Because we did do that. Because we had all of our tea sitting up on the window, and the sunlight was shining into it, and that was why I hadn't noticed how amazing that tea was.
And then
so since then switched, we took your advice. We took all of our teas into like a flat, like a little box.
Right.
We have them all. We pre-dose them, but we have them in a box, completely out of the sun, in a cupboard.
Awesome.
So they're miles better now.
Oh, check out! We had this this box made for us by a local woodworker. How rad is that?
Ooh,
yeah, that's basically exactly what we have, but
paper, right? Yeah, isn't that cool?
Can you show one more time? Sorry, one more time.
So, that's
that is so cool.
So pre-dosed and
yeah, and then when you flip it over, it works so well.
Not the box.
Yeah.
We don't want to flip
just
over the box.
Flip the box over and just see what happens.
Yeah, not the box, no, just the teeth. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And then when you're done, right? And then you have a way of protecting them from light, and you're able to move through them quickly. And so, again, for our viewers, if you're ever in food service, it's a good idea to be pre-dosing just about anything when you come to manual brewing. But I think that that with these teas, especially when we have different doses for different teas, it just makes a big difference. Even if it's the same amount of time for food service, and it's not really a long time to dose out the tea. What it does do is, at least I find, that when you're working alone, the mental room it gives you is really awesome. Right? Because you're able to go, okay, I don't have to worry about weighing that. All I have to do is just put it into the teapot, and I just have to focus on the right temperature, and it gives me that space to
And we did the exact same thing in the cafe for our pour overs as well. So we have pre-dosed coffees as well. So it just saves time.
Yeah, it's
and the customers get their pour overs faster or their teas faster, and we know we're not messing it up by there's a big line, so you accidentally do 24 grams instead of 22 or something like that. So
which is a big deal, and it doesn't sound like a big deal. Like
it's a huge deal.
Because I like to think in percentages. Like when we have when people are brewing and they say use 3.5 grams instead of 3 grams, like the percentage of the total mass is quite a big deal. And with coffee, you're using a larger dose, so maybe it's a smaller percentage of the finished total, but it still makes a big difference. So with tea, it even makes more of a difference, and because you have such a powerful extraction from such a small dose of botanical, right? So it's
Absolutely.
definitely really important to be careful. And everybody will notice that both Dave and Sherri Anne have both been using scales, and it makes a big difference. And how they're getting the water volume is knowing that a gram of water is a milliliter of water for our purposes. So yeah, there we go.
I started with just these 2 vessels, but I realized I'm brewing in this, so it couldn't be my vessel, so I changed to just a cup.
Which totally works, right? And to be able to just understand that flow of protecting the dose of tea to the dose of water to the temperature of water and the extraction time is it's a good place to be. So, but yeah, awesome guys. Thank you for time has flown by really quick, I guess because of that whole difficulty starting. I did only ask Dave for you to be on until 2:00. We're past time. Are we good? I'm
good. Yeah, I'm good till whenever. Yeah.
Okay,
all good.
Cool. And Sherri Anne, we're good? Just checking.
I'm so good. Are we gonna do another steep?
I was hoping to. We could do another steep and just talk about that.
The leaves, by the way, on right now, just by themselves, smell so amazing and sweet. It's like,
Why don't you actually grab a leaf and analyze it for a moment? You can see it's kind of cut like a Japanese style. It looks like to me. When I grab it by the stem, it gives me a better perspective on the leaf. So I don't know if the viewers can see that.
Wow, it looks like a laurel bush or something, like just like it looks like a regular leaf. Like,
well, have you ever seen a camellia, Cher? Like the ornamental?
Well, I have when we went to that tea farm on the island.
So there's actually that was a Camellia sinensis. So yes, when we went to that tea farm on Vancouver Island, they're called Westholme, we did see actual tea plants. But there's also a very popular ornamental called Camellia japonica. And it's related to Camellia sinensis, and it looks really similar. And laurels look really similar. The leaves actually look like a laurel bush, and they're really tough like that. So these ones, they're basically...
Really? They feel tough. Wow, I didn't realize that they look so much just like a laurel leaf.
Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is that they harvest those leaves when they're really young. So these are very small because they're harvesting them during what's called the flush. And the flush is when the young leaves appear on the plants before they develop into more mature leaves. And there is tea made from mature leaves, not just young leaves. But it's by far more expensive because you get less for the same amount of picking time to use young leaves. And they're generally considered more delicate, and you generally are going to find that you get more umami, or that kind of rich, brothy background note, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So I unfortunately have to skip out on the 3rd steep because I ran out of water.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll continue to enjoy the 2nd one.
Okay, sounds good.
I did too. I actually, the 2nd steep that I did, I was like 20 milliliters short.
Okay.
But it still tasted great.
You guys are breaking all the rules.
This one's gonna be for real. How many grams of water for this one if I'm gonna put it directly in?
Probably 165.
Okay, so I did 1 vessel, 2 vessels.
And dropping in. And starting the timer. 3 minutes.
165.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm at 140, so I gotta do it again. Oh,
There you go. Dave, you could have ran and grabbed water. We would have been okay.
1, 2,
All good.
45.
It's awesome.
I've got this much water, so maybe I'll just try it.
Yeah, there you go. Just see how it goes. That's awesome.
Oh,
Okay. I think this tea is tasting pretty awesome. And if I remember correctly, then especially if are you working with a slightly lower water temperature then? The stuff that, what am I saying? What am I even saying? I'm mumbling my words. You have like 40 grams, 60 grams of water? What did that
Me?
even look like? Yeah.
That was
like,
about, yeah, about 40 grams.
Awesome. There you go. So for our viewers, Dave, you and I actually first met when you were working at a different space, no? Is that
Third space.
yeah, at Third Space. And Third Space is in Kelowna. They also they use your coffee beans from time to time. They have a multi-roaster project, right?
They're a multi-roaster, so they switch between, sometimes they use ours, sometimes they use, they mainly use Monogram, I think Phil and Sebastian. I'm not sure, but they switch through.
Transcend as well, right? I think we had Transcend on a couple episodes ago, and I believe that at least at some point they were using Transcend coffee as well.
Yep. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think they might still be.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So that's before Canoe, or were you running Canoe at the same time as I met you?
I feel like that was maybe before Canoe.
Okay.
Maybe while I was like, I never actually worked at Third Space. I was just kind of like a shotgun barista for them.
Okay.
So I just kind of helped out when they needed help.
So what is your you learned the ropes for being a barista where then?
JJ Bean in Vancouver.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So my original coffee world was the Starbucks world.
okay.
So my first job out of high school was a Starbucks job. So I have I think I worked for them on and off for maybe 4 years. And then when I moved to Vancouver for when my wife was going to school there, I worked at JJ Bean for a couple of years, and that's where I actually started to enjoy real coffee, and I learned a little bit of roasting from them, just from watching them basically, and just questioning them all the time.
Nice.
And then moving back to Kelowna is when I started my thing. So
the one, not a lot of people know this, but one of our other clients, Matchstick Coffee, actually has their origin story in working for JJ Bean. So there's
yes, that's right.
And JJ Bean has been around a long time. I think they have I think I remember having a really good cup of coffee there when I was at Granville Island, and one of their I don't know if that pop up.
Yeah, that's where their original cafe is. Yeah.
Really? Is that the original cafe? Okay, cool.
So yeah,
it was pretty memorable. I was like, okay. I was expecting, I don't know why, but I'd heard that they roast a little bit too deep, and so I wasn't expecting and I know too dark, too deep. It's all in your head anyways. But
they try to please all sides, which I think is really respectful. That's kind of what we try to do as well. We roast our lighter roasted coffees that are the more ones we want to shine and showcase,
mm-hmm.
and then we have the slightly more developed roast for the people that want cream in their coffee.
Right.
So
you
I think some people might think that about JJ Bean as well, but I still think that they roast some of the best coffee
nice.
around.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I've had what I'm trying to say is that I think I had preconceptions, and
yeah, I think
they were great.
People do. Sure.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
And but I haven't had your coffee roasted dark, at all. So I don't know. Maybe it's just what I've chosen when I've been there. I've always just been taking your guys' recommendations.
Have one roast, yeah.
Okay.
Everything else we roast pretty light, but we have our one dark roast.
Okay. There you go. And do you serve it on bar, or is it more a retail item?
We always have it on bar. We always have 2 or 3 on bar. We always have our dark roast and then rotating single origins.
Nice. Okay. I'm a sucker for Ethiopian origins.
We brought in some amazing new Ethiopians.
Nice.
Ethiopian food.
So,
by the way, I gotta say this is the first steep that I made correctly.
Okay.
According to directions.
Nice.
And my gosh, it's so good. It's so much sweeter.
You're tasting less tannin.
Yes.
When we're talking about extraction, I think that a lot of what we're doing is we're curating we're curating volatile oils or like different expressions of the leaf. Like if you go, all those bitters and astringents are in that botanical, but by the way that we dose and the way that we, the temperatures that we choose and the amount of water that we choose, the extraction times, these are all going to play major roles in curating flavors that we're, or like selecting flavors that we really want to enjoy and really want to express. So it's really noticeable when you hit like a kind of like a sweet spot where you're like, okay, I didn't go too far, and therefore the flavor is just like so much better, right?
It's unbelievable. Yeah, the first steep I did it 30 seconds too long.
Uh-huh.
And then the second one I was like 30 milliliters short of the water. And they were both still good, but this one I did according to the directions.
Yeah.
And it's like all the sweetness is there, the astringent is gone, the dilution or whatever you want to call it, the ratio of the tea to the water just feels like right on the mark.
Cool. No, that's good to hear.
Nice.
So where I was going with that, and I want to ask Sherri Anne this question too, is just, Dave, why are you interested in flavor? I guess is kind of a theme of our show. Like it's kind of a big question, but I guess like what is it that made you decide to get into this sort of more? I don't know. It's. I think you do it in an interesting way where you keep it really like relaxed. But I know that you are actually like extremely interested in kind of sophisticated flavors, right? And what is it that's drawn you to that, I guess?
I think life is boring without interesting flavors.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Like I just love super flavorful things. Like I'm super into cheese, into wine, into beer, and anything that tastes good.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't like boring things, I guess.
Right.
I find interesting tasting things and different tasting things, even if they're bad, to just be intriguing.
Yeah.
And it just is a way of what am I trying to say? It just makes you think about what you're tasting instead of just tasting something, right? Like just go if you have enjoyment in the things that you put in like I don't want to say that. The enjoyment of things you drink and you eat, it just makes life better, I think. And
I totally agree, and I know where you're coming from, because it's kind of a way of, I think the way to de-snobify really interesting sort of like a foodie way of enjoying food and drink is to just understand that there's a spiritual component, that there's like a way of like enjoying food and drink that makes you very present. Because you're just, and it also, I think it encourages a certain amount of gratitude and respect for what it is that you're drinking or that you're eating, because you're so present. And I think it's so easy to not do that and to just be like, you know what, it's just food. It all goes to the same place anyhow. Why am I even, why is this even important for me to slow down and really focus on what it is that I'm eating or drinking? I think it brings a lot of meaning, and it's very symbolic for just how one might choose to live their life, right?
I was just thinking that, yeah.
So anyway, that's my 2 cents on. I think that's kind of where you were intimating. If I'm.
That's exactly what I was saying. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So huge
Nice
agreement
translation.
there. Sherri Anne, where are you at with that? Like are you what draws you to tasting things? And I know that you're not like in the industry, but you're interested in.
Well, I think that it's a similar thing. Like it's a, I think about also humans in general. Like we have, I think, a very powerful intuition. And when something tastes like really, like when it tastes really good, it's like usually good for our bodies. A lot of the times, if we're
not medicine.
Present with it. Not always, but at the same time, like if we were like stuck in a forest with all these edible foods.
Yeah.
I think that if we were to walk around it and there were 300 varieties, we would intuitively eat what we actually need. Okay. I think if we didn't have a lot of junk food around us that was altering our internal constitution,
Yeah, or our ways of perceiving flavor. It's really interesting when you stop having food that's very like say like way too much sugar or way too much salt or or way too much, and you kind of get that out of your life for a while, and then you go back to foods that perhaps you didn't really spend much time with in the past because you found them bland, and then suddenly they have so much flavor. It's interesting, and to go around, say you're talking about like I think what you're trying to talk about there is just like how the body craves things that taste good, because generally there's something in them that the body needs, right? Like when we're tired and exhausted, we often will like food that's a little bit saltier than we normally would if we weren't tired and exhausted, because our body is craving that. Not too salty. I'm not talking like the extreme salty stuff, but like a little bit
electrolytes.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So, and then that will make it taste so good. And water when you're thirsty, right? Like, and food when you're hungry, like
it tastes
on a
so
really
good
basic level. But there's also these components of those foods and drinks that we're looking for. Maybe that's what you're talking
and
about.
I think when you steep tea with it at a beneficial ratio or an amount of time, I think that you get a certain amount of flavor. But my guess would be that there's also a certain amount of nutritional value to that as well. And like there's a probably some type of chemical reaction that happens like when you drink something really delicious that also helps with endorphins. And so I think about when a carrot's growing, if you grow a carrot carelessly, it tastes like nothing. If you grow tea and steep tea carelessly, it might taste like nothing.
Right. No, or taste really horrific, right? Like
tastes really horrific. Like a carrot tastes really bitter from pesticides, or
Right.
So it's like what we put into the growing process and the steeping and the preparation process. Like even if you overcook a carrot when you're cooking it, like if you cook it the right amount with just a little bit of oil, on top of it, or even by itself. Yeah. Like it can be so sweet and amazing, and usually when it's like that, it's like more nutritious when it's just plain and cooked properly.
Super good point. Yeah, and I think that
with care.
Probably true for coffees. I would imagine, absolutely so. And I know it's true for tea that you can really taste it if there's a nutritionally dense flavor. Like not only does it taste amazing, but there is like a denseness of flavor because of that increased nutritional impact as well.
For sure.
Yeah. So, maybe that's when we're talking about, I think in coffee, they talk about, harvesting it at the right moment where it's actually ripe cherries rather than underripe cherries, and coffee that's grown with a little bit more careful attention to detail. And tea, it's about the soil structure and about, harvesting at the right time, sure, but also during the process. If you're more careful, and you've put in a good amount of energy into growing it well, and you put in a lot of energy during the process of making it, you retain a lot more of that medicinal impact, for certain. Yeah, some interesting studies on that actually. Like I always recommend to our viewers to check out PubMed, but when you're trying to even understand levels of what was the aluminum. I had a customer come in and say, hey, I'm not interested in having tea because I heard there's a lot of aluminum in tea. And I was like, oh, really? Wow. So I had to go and do a lot of research on this. I didn't want to just be like, oh, you're wrong. There's no aluminum in tea. Of course there's aluminum in tea. Of course there's heavy metals in everything. It's just trace amounts if we're careful, but it can go past an acceptable threshold if we're not. And so I really wanted to understand it. And I found out that it's actually true that tea that's harvested in areas that have more naturally occurring aluminum in the soil than other areas that are not given other say like fertilizer or different components for them to draw on for their lifeblood, you end up drawing too much of something out of the soil, and that can translate into tea that doesn't taste very good, that's really cheap and bland, but also can be harmful with too much of a concentration of something that's not very good for us. So it does make a difference even on a toxicity level, where we can have, if tea is grown in the wrong environment and it's too little effort put into it for massive return, you often find that it can enter that world of toxicity. So definitely the opposite extreme, right? One is like nutrition, yes, flavor, yes, but lack of flavor can also be symbolic for toxicity potentially. So it's
Wow.
interesting to understand that and look into that. Yeah. Anyway, I think this is a good time to say thank you to you guys. We've kind of gone to 2:20 here, and I just wanted to appreciate your time with us. I wanted to know if you had any last comments you wanted to end the session with today. Maybe give your thoughts on the tea that we drank, and then anything else you'd like to say. Maybe we could start with you, Dave.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on here. This has been awesome. It's nice to sit down and drink a tea with middle of all the renovations of the new space. So, I mean, yeah, that was a fantastic tea. Can we sell? Are we getting this one soon at the cafe?
That is on. That is the green tea 2. So this is not an. So I've been drinking a lot of reserve teas with viewers, but this tea is available for our wholesale customers. So, and it's a delicious tea. I really, really love it. It's kind of the replacement for the Biluochun. I think you've had the Biluochun for a bit, and then so this would be the tea that replaces it.
Okay.
So it would be lovely to coordinate that with you, and maybe, who knows?
It's fantastic. Yeah, and I guess I'll just say one more time, just to remind everybody that's watching, that we will be changing our name soon. We're super excited about that, and if you need to find us, just follow us on the social media, on Facebook and Instagram. That's the best way, and you'll see our name change soon, and hopefully we can see you all soon at the cafe.
May 29th, right? Is the big reveal?
Yeah, that's the launch date. Yeah.
Lovely.
Cool.
Really looking forward to it. And I believe how Instagram works is if you do follow Dave on Instagram, that when he does make that name change, it's just gonna bring you over to the new name. So highly encourage you to do that. And then I guess if you go to canoecoffeeroasters.com, you'll probably link your webpage to the new webpage as well, right? Yeah. So anybody who's watching can go to canoecoffeeroasters.com. You'll link to the new name. Follow him on Instagram, and then we'll also change the name to the new name in the description for this live stream show when you look at the archived version of it on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, Dave. Really lovely to have you on and talk about the tea, and appreciate you putting your time into this in and amongst the chaos. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for having me, and it was nice to meet you. Sorry, we were
Sherri Anne.
Sherri Anne, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Dave. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Look forward to checking out your spot.
Yeah, we should chat about the show for sure.
Yeah, when it all settles, we'll figure something out.
One day.
You're going to be on, Sherri Anne is going to be on, I think I just saw an advertisement about you joining the online Parks Alive show that's going to be coming.
Park Sound BC. Actually,
Park
it's a
Sound
studio.
BC. Oh, Park Sound BC. Okay, sorry. Yeah, Park Sound BC. So yeah,
on
our
Saturday.
viewers, and Dave, I highly encourage you to check out the music on Park Sound BC.
I will.
And also every Thursday at 12, Sherri Anne performs on her patreon.com/sisterspeak, or you can check her out on Instagram. She connects to her Instagram feed as well for the live show every Thursday at 12, and every Saturday, I believe, at 7.
First Saturday of the month at 7.
Okay, and you want to say anything at the end here as well, Sherri Anne, before we all say goodbye?
This tea is phenomenal. I am so blown away. It's incredible. That's all I gotta say.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for the.
Really is.
I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. This is one of Mew's favorite teas, so it's nice to hear that everybody's enjoying it. So yeah, cool. All right. Well, thank you very much to both of you for coming on the show. Really appreciate your time and your thoughts and this opportunity to share. You guys all take care. Okay.
You too. Thank you.
Okay. Stay safe.
You too. All stay safe. Wash your hands.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Okay. So we are ending the show. Really appreciate you guys watching today. I did fumble a bit. I got partway through the show and realized that the first 20 minutes didn't have any volume. You couldn't hear me speaking. You couldn't hear sound. So as I was drinking the Pu'er 1976 Pu'er, you didn't hear any of my thoughts. I was just miming the drinking. So that's how it goes. But that's hopefully fixed for next week. I think I got this. So as I was saying, when you couldn't hear me, every week is a new adventure. Being my own cameraman, being my own producer, being my own everything for this show. Couldn't have done it without the help of Serge Jaeger. Serge Jaeger has been a friend and a customer and so many things for so long. Lovely, lovely man. You should go check out his Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Serge Jaeger. Again, that's twitch.tv, twitch.tv/Serge Jaeger. You can go check him out. He's also going to be on the show next week. We're going to be drinking a flight of Darjeelings that should be available by the end of the day today on the webpage, and you can order them and join us for our cupping next week. I hope you all stay safe in the midst of this pandemic. Word on the street is that things are going to open up a little bit, so let's all just be extra careful, maintain our social distancing. Let's wash our hands, be extra careful, and we'll see you on the other side. And in the meantime, and even afterward, keep watching us on our show here. Come to JagaSilk YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com, search JagaSilk. And if you subscribe and we can go over 100 subscribers, then we're going to get to a place where we can have our own YouTube channel. So it'll be youtube.com/JagaSilk when we get there. So thank you all for watching. Huge respect, huge appreciation. Thank you so much.